you. Thanks a lot, Zubin. And I would like to thank NHRD platform. This is one of the earliest associations that has nurtured HR. And it's my proud privilege to be on this forum today. And thank you for inviting me. It's a very august platform indeed. And it also brings back all those memories of past associations and past representations of my erstwhile organizations in Kolkata forums like FICCI, then INC, CSM conferences, NIPM, etc. So it all brings back all those memories. So thank you for that. Now about the introduction professionally that you mentioned, yes, what I do right now that is known. So I am quite privileged to be a part of different industry sectors throughout my careers. But incidentally, my start of career has not been in HR, that has been in manufacturing. Yet another Kolkata company, which is Reckitt Benckiser, Reckitt Coleman that time. So I was on the manufacturing shop floor, manufacturing Dettol, Lysol, Disprin for about a year. And that's when the MBA bug bit me. And I felt that maybe my skill sets were more suited for the corporate career and it's worth giving a try post MBA. So that's how MBA happened. And so then one by one things started happening. Post MBA, my campus placement was with Haldia Petrochemicals. That was that was June 2000. And incidentally, be it Haldia Petrochemicals or the other organizations that I have been a part of, for each and every one, I have, for each and every one of these companies in this variety of industries, I have always been associated at a very crucial juncture of their life cycle, of those business life cycles, which is what enriched my HR career and enhanced my HR career quite a lot. So Haldia Petrochemicals, yes, in April 2000, the company got dedicated to the nation, and it was a great collaboration between amongst multiple parties like the government, TCG, Tata Group, and of course, being a part of that organization where we were all trying to create an organization out of a project. So that was extremely enriching. So we went through a multitude of employee lifecycle experiences, be it in SAP implementation or different kinds of OD initiatives. And being a part of a small team, obviously one got a lot of exposure into every area. And being a part of HR and corporate communications, which was a part of corporate affairs that time. So automatically all these exposure of representing the company in different forums, that also came along with. So in later life, actually this initial experience of 3.5 years has actually kind of been very, very valuable for me, because it was like baptism by fire when you don't know so many things in HR and yet you're trying to do things. Then Mumbai happened over a period of time. I went on to be a part of IBM, which was ITES. And so before that, there was a company called Daksh, which got taken over by IBM. So I joined IBM Daksh, and that was the time when all these different integrations were happening. Again, we were transitioning into IBM processes, etc. So that was also a very interesting phase. And that's why I say that, you know, the criticality of that juncture. So there I was in a primarily resourcing role. So I was heading leadership and support hiring for IBM BPO at that point in time. And the fast pace of the BPO setup, obviously, you know, that kind of added another dimension to my work portfolio, because that kind of speed and pace isn't so common in every industry sector. Then I went on to be a part of Sony Entertainment Network. So till now, maximum time of my career I have spent in the media sector, 6.5 years. And incidentally, again, that was a time when On the HR front, we were doing multiple things, meaning there was a need to do both a cultural transformation and a process slash system transformation, because that wasn't so common before that. Also, on the business front, that was the time when Sony brought in a couple of offerings, which kind of changed the entertainment landscape of the nation. So if you think of IPL or the Kaun Banega Crorepati offering, so all of these things were actually aligned to the Sony sense of innovation and creativity. But when business is undergoing these kinds of changes and offering such innovative products, obviously being in the HR function as well, we had to constantly keep pace with that kind of creative thinking. So that made it a very enriching experience, no doubt. Then came my turn to be a part of an IT organization where I headed India and small parts of other geographies. And IT sector actually, kind of taught me that there is so much of a wide range of experiences that you can contribute to in an employee life cycle. And there is so much of a scope to perform all of that because technology aids you. So of course, that was a great learning experience as well. Now, having been at that juncture of my career where I was already heading a function and the exposure and experience, there wasn't much that I could ask for at that point in time. So I felt that having done my PhD and along the way, there should be some avenue for me to experiment with that field as well. That can I make a career as an academician? And the same set of students who we meet as, who we meet with on the other side of the table, can we make a mark in their careers at an initial stage, at a nascent stage? And that's what made me take up this offer of a professor and HOD of HR at NL Dalmia Institute, one of the premier B schools in India. And so being an academician and, bringing in that flavor of corporate into the academic world, it's already there, it was there. But obviously when someone from corporate world joins in, automatically comes all those years of corporate experience, and you tend to bridge the gap that lies between academia and corporate. So 2 years of that. And just when I was starting to think that maybe my skill sets are after all better suited for the corporate world, came the Datamatics role. And of course, technology is something which I have always loved working with. And that's what brings me to Datamatics. Incidentally, a company which has offerings in the areas of not only IT, BPO, but the entire range of Industry 4.0 trends, like your artificial intelligence, cognitive sciences, advanced data analytics, robotics, all of it. So that's the professional journey.
So what about Rima personally? How would we know what do you do when you're not working? Are there certain things you like, you don't like?
Okay, so actually, even when we are asked this question about what kind of a person we are, I think somewhere automatically the professional part comes into being, because I think over a period of time, it's very difficult to put that demarcating line between our professional and personal identities. So on the personal front, yes, I'm someone with a zest, I would say a core positivist, and with someone with a uh, can-do attitude. It sounds a little MBA-ish, but that's something, that's the mantra which has, taken me along all this while. I think of doing something, then I figure out how it can be done. So that sense of passion is very, very strong in me in whatever I wish to do. I love writing. I pen my thoughts, though don't publish them so regularly, but yes, I just have to get a topic and I can, write about it. I can talk about it. So I do have a thought I do try to bring in this thought leadership aspect wherever possible. I like the mentoring aspects. A whole lot of my time goes into helping people who are at some juncture of their corporate careers, and that's where this I have explored in various settings, not only in corporate settings but in my network amongst the people that I know. I have also been a mentor at international mentor at Middlesex University School, B School UK. So this was all virtual, and this was long before COVID hit us. So I'm kind of familiar with these online associations. So these are all things I used to do in my pastime. I am very, very passionate about Indian weaves, and I'm also associated, I do my bit of social work associated with an orphanage there. We had charitable trust, which over a period of time has become a part of our existence, a part of our family. And I truly believe that we have to generate this well-being. You know, if somebody has helped us, we must help in turn. So, you know, the ball has to be rolling always. So these are some of the things that I do. I have a 12-year-old daughter who lights up my world, and she's an amateur chess player and also an author. Her first book she wrote at the age of 9. So yes, writing is something which is there in the family. That's where I am.
So writing is in the DNA, I guess. So good to know. So
So
what?
to say.
Before I ask you the next question, I'm very inquisitive. What book did she write? What was it all about?
So this is the name of the book is Adventures of Silly Sally, and that's a little girl who gets into a bit of adventure and how she cracks a mystery with the help of various codes, etc. So
Okay.
it's quite intellectual thought process, I would say, coming from a 9-year-old.
Yes, quite advanced really at the age of 9 to be able to write a book. All right, that's really good to hear. So, Rima, you have worked in so many different industries. I mean, if you look at your career timeline, what I would like to know, and I'll tell you why I'm asking this question. There are quite a lot of youngsters who watch our HR Speak Live who are part of this session right now, and therefore I think this would really help if you could tell us a little bit about how has it helped you as an HR professional uh, in working in so many different industries.
Okay, so I think the first thing that it does is it helps a lot in boosting your confidence, self-belief, conviction, that can-do attitude that I mentioned about. So incidentally, the beauty of the HR profession is that we are all dealing with people, and while people may not be same, but there are certain traits, inherent traits, which are very similar. So end of the day, the aspirations, the strengths, the fears, apprehensions, insecurities, so the industries may vary, but these form the core of the individuals that we work with. So if we feel that, yes, we understand that side well, as in we can't understand that too well ever, but then if we claim that we understand that well, then actually the industry doesn't matter. But yes, definitely it helps, because when you be a part of a different industry, and within a short span of time, when you get settled there, when growth happens in that company, which is a different industry altogether, then because of these things, you tend to feel that, okay, so business orientation is probably something that comes quite naturally to me. So this, if you have these traits of self-investment, a fierce passion, what we say junoon in Hindi. So if you have that, that come what may, whichever is the industry, doesn't matter. I am going to make a mark because I know that I am good as a core professional. So I think that helps to get settled. And where the industries help us is, of course, our horizon gets widened to a great extent, you know, and certain things which would have been unthinkable otherwise, like some practices of maybe ITES sector coming into media via this HR person, or from media into IT, or from IT into maybe a B school. So, there is a lot of cross-pollination of ideas that happen. And while implementing those ideas, automatically as a professional, you get far more enriched and aware.
Right. And a little earlier, when you were talking about Datamatics as well, and since we were talking about Industry 4.0, there's another question I wanted to ask you is about uh, driving the digital agenda. So, in terms of HR, how has HR adopted the digital platform, and what do you foresee in the next 2 years? Of course, things have changed in the last few months, but then is that what is going to affect, or we were already in the journey in terms of the digital agenda?
So I would say digital HR, digital agenda, these buzzwords have been on for quite some time, much before COVID hit us. And these have been on because digital has been a very, very, natural upgradation of where things were in the past. So we were anyways headed there. It's just that probably the current COVID situation has augmented the process and taken it steps forward. But digital has always been there, where it was nothing but maybe us trying to connect various dots around HR efficiency, HR effectiveness, how we handle information, and how we handle communication. So two aspects on the effectiveness and efficiency front, and two on the information and communication front. So in essence, this is what digital has driven for us. This is what digital has been driving for us. So if I look at the employee experience, if I look at the entire employee life cycle, right from onboarding to exit. So right at the time of hiring, we have so many touch points which are all digital. The way we track applicants, the way we connect with them, the way we keep in touch with them throughout the joining period, getting them onboarded, especially when they are in different geographies, right? What do you do at that time? You take the help of all kinds of digital media. You join in, and then you see that you have a team which is virtual in nature, established across different geographies. How do you get such a team to work together? How do you explore those collaborative relationships? Again, we take the help of digital medium. So what do we mean by digital medium? It's nothing but utilizing and exploring possibly all the facets of SMAC, which is social mobility analytics and cloud. So to the extent possible, combining all of that to ensure that the HR offerings can be aligned to that. So that's what we have been trying to do all this while. So when it comes to HR efficiency, could it be about utilizing the digital platform for the learning and development initiatives, right? So even what we are doing now, this engagement and connect, we never thought that this would be possible. I'm here in Bombay, you're there in Kolkata, and there could be so many people from across the world who are listening to this now. And we never thought that this would be possible, but it is possible. And at least in IT companies, this has been the norm for quite some time. We have been utilizing these platforms. Otherwise, how do we connect and engage with employees who are far away? Or maybe a huge segment of employees who work in the client locations, how do we connect with them? So we have been leveraging digital platforms for quite some time. It's not only about efficiency, but also about enhancing the effectiveness. So any kind of process that we have, be it a performance management process or even an onboarding to exit process, so we can upgrade those processes, and we have been doing that by bringing in the digital elements. There were times when there used to be so many papers floating around. That's the first basic example of digital, probably, where the digitization of those papers, keeping them away in soft form so that easy retrieval and easy referencing is possible. That's where probably organizations tasted the first digital aspect. And then we went on to much more high-end stuff, where the entire engagement platform we could leverage, the entire L&D platform we could leverage. The third part, which is information, Yes, information capturing and disseminating information in the right way. So I think that's where digital has been most useful. The way we have used analytics, so the way we look at data. So incidentally, our brain is bombarded with millions of pieces of information every second. It's difficult for us to get those information bucketed and readily usable when we need them, right? So brain struggles with that, but that's our struggle. As HR professionals, we need to enable the businesses to ensure that we need to enable them so that they get to see the right data, the right information, which can help them to take the right kind of decisions around people. So the information and analytics part has been enabled a lot by digital. So be it in talent analytics, be it to some extent in predicting attrition, in predicting performance, finding out key talent, critical talent, in all of these aspects, digital has been of great help. Incidentally, in my organization, we also have a product called True BI. So this is a product which helps us, amongst other things. I'm just giving one example of a climate survey exercise where we have loads of data responses across different geographies. So the way this tool beautifully helps us to put everything together to give us the right kind of inferences is just amazing. So at least IT companies, we are now in a position, as in we offered this tool to other organizations. It's a service offering for us. We use it in-house also, but that's data made easy for us. And the fourth aspect, which is the employee connect or the experience. Of course, today when we are separated by miles and there is a COVID-19, of course, there are still so many things that are possible. So when collaboration is the one of the biggest virtues today, right? How do we reward collaboration? How do I appreciate my colleague or a team member who's located somewhere else and I want to send in an appreciation? A simple card, like today I got something called the chocolate card, something that appreciates me for something that I have done. So we were just introducing this for our employees to say that if you wish to appreciate a colleague, send this virtual card to this person. So till the time you meet in a physical space in office, this is a small thing for you to do. Would you want to explore? So wherever possible, we try to enhance the experience digitally. In recent times, when we felt that there is a lot of need to connect with employees because there was so much of apprehension about well-being, safety, apprehension about which way the business is going. So we felt that we must connect with employees through some medium, and we designed this program called Socially Distanced Yet Mentally Connected. So we spoke to different businesses. Each business would be having roughly 150 to 250 people. We all came together. So our format was to appreciate people for what they have been doing, how they could immediately get into a business as usual mode in spite of being at home. And then we went on to talk about various things which are important on the well-being front. If we touched upon various aspects of well-being, appreciation and recognition by the managers in open platforms. So these are all things that we did, and this initiative was widely appreciated. And we could do all of this because we had a digital connect. There was all this entire Teams and WebEx and all these machineries to help us to do that. So I think digital is the way to go, and in the next 2-3 years, we are going to see much more advanced forms of it. It's important that organizations gauge where they are currently, and there are different kinds of matrices and grids that are possible audit wise, where you see where you are currently and you can figure out which step of the journey you want to target by what timeline.
Right. In fact, we even from the perspective of NHRDN, we have been discussing about digitization of HR. Even in, I think, almost a year back or a couple of years back, when we were doing events with without social distancing. So we had a lot of these events, and in some of the events we were covering these aspects. And in fact, my next question has some connection to technology, but then I would also like to know a little bit about your experience in enhancing productivity through employee engagement, because that's another question that has come in after COVID-19 hit. There have been a lot of questions asked about employee engagement, but overall in your career, in your, what has been your experience, what has been your understanding of how productivity can be enhanced to employee engagement? That's number one. And second is technology playing a role in employee engagement? And I'm talking about pre-COVID, uh, situation, as well as what is happening now. Of course, now it has become essential, but has it been playing that role in employee engagement?
Right. Yeah. So multiple thoughts come to my mind pre-COVID and current scenario both. So I think now that I have got a forum to talk to, there has been a lot of misconception about employee engagement in the past, and this is something which I used to tell even my students in the HR class that I would take, that when you all go ahead and become HR professionals in corporate, keep in mind that employee engagement is not about rangoli making and yoga classes and having a traditional day at work and all. Those are fun at work examples. Those are fun at work situations that we try to bring in, and it's important, not that it's not important, but it should not be misconstrued as employee engagement. Okay, so there are two ways in which we essentially connect on this front. One is an emotional engagement piece, and one is a rational engagement piece, right? So when it comes to the emotional engagement part, I'll talk about maybe the rational part. So the rational engagement is all about how we are rewarded, our compensation, our salaries, our grades, levels, etc. So the mind thinks rationally that where am I? Am I where I ought to be or where I'm supposed to be? And the second part, which is the emotional engagement, that's all about, is my job of value? Am I bringing any value to the organization? Am I valued? What does my growth, as in, is there some kind of an inner growth also that is happening? Am I growing as a person by way of my professional experience? So that's something which is a very, very it's a very frequent thought that comes into employees' minds, that at what level are we engaged with the organization? Is it doing basics for me, or is it doing something more? Because even if you look at Maslow's hierarchy, it doesn't stop at any one level. Till the time you get into that self-actualization level, it's always a journey from one level to another. That's how we are tuned. So they say that if work generates prosperity, it's good. If it generates intellectual stimulation, that's even better. And if your work is able to transform lives, then that's fantastic. So what are the different opportunities that we provide to employees so that they are constantly engaged with the organization? So that's what we should look at. Okay. Now this element of productivity that you have linked with the engagement, of course, there is that motive uh, to always enhance the productivity. As a business professional, that's our responsibility. So employee engagement we have used in various forms, and one of the best ways, or rather one outcome we could quickly see in one of my past organizations, where we came up with a kind of account level, business level people scorecards. So we said that, how about measuring a particular department not only by the yardstick of its profit and loss, but also by way of what's the employee engagement score out of the survey, how much of reward and recognition has that particular business got, what is their adherence to the various organizational processes like timesheet, appraisal, did they do all of those things on time, how many of them won client appreciations, was that a significant number, So all of it we've weaved together to say that here is a business specific people scorecard, and the business which has maximum numbers, which scores well on all these counts, is the winner. And we would put this up in various locations, in different office locations, so employees could see for themselves as to how it was looking. And because we weaved this entire thing into a fun part of an event, our annual awards function, we said that, you know, somewhere the winning team will also have points for the scores they have achieved via this people engagement scorecard. So that was one a classic example of linking the fun part with business and productivity. And we have had situations where employees would look at the scorecards, which would be pasted on the notice boards, and tell their co-workers that, hey, you know, you have so many timesheets pending, or so many leave approvals pending, please do that quickly, otherwise we lose marks, there is someone who's ahead of us. So trying to link the productivity part in a fun way, that always helps. We could try it in one organization, and I remember I have gone for some of these speed mentoring sessions in different organizations while I was a professor. And whenever I spoke about it, there are so many people who got in touch with me one-on-one later, that how exactly did you do it? What metrics did you use? So this was an example that we actually had in my organization. Also, when it comes to the entire aspect of employee engagement today, I think it is hinging on three important pillars, three main pillars of flexibility, trust, and communication. So flexibility, because today the work routine that we have, definitely flexibility is an important part. So while our commute time has gone, you know, there we save time there. But on the other hand, again, our personal and professional boundaries are extremely blurred. We are probably working such long hours without even realizing that, because we are enjoying that. There isn't much to do in life these days anyways. We can't go out, no catching up on movie, friends, etc., none of that. So yes, that flexibility is an important aspect. We also have, we value a co-worker's time, need for personal space and time. We respect that, which is why we try to ensure that the meetings don't eat into the personal spaces. And, you know, while we can't see who's having lunch when, but a minimum decorum to be maintained, that, you know, when somebody says that, can you move this meeting to so and so time, immediately we all say yes to that. So flexibility is one core of engagement today. The second one is trust. So for quite some time, organizations did not at all believe in this concept of work from home. Not to blame anyone, it is a fact that Indian households are not really best suited for a work from home kind of scenario. Okay, so we don't necessarily have the luxury of big houses where, you know, every working professional in the house has a different room or a corner. We don't have that. We have the kids running around, the noise and all of that. So yes, issues were there, issues are there, which is why probably earlier organizations would not experiment with this model much. But what's happening today? When the COVID situations that are coming up, and productivity, end of the day, is a byproduct. So if the processes are set, if the review mechanisms, the governance is all set, if you have a steady set of working professionals who have pressed the reset button and know what to do in the change scenario, then productivity is a byproduct of all these factors.
Right, right. Um, in fact, I wanted to get to questions now, since we are probably the last 15 minutes of our session. And I've already got a question from Abhijit Basu. Uh, One of the things that you were talking about was related to analytics, right? And also, I think you were talking about one of the services from your organization was related to business intelligence. So again, the analytics part comes in. So the question from Abhijit Basu is, how important is HR analytics for HR professionals in this new normal?
Okay, so even earlier it was extremely important, but Abhijit, in the new norm, it's more important because we may not have access to the resources in a physical space always. So how do we determine what we allocate and to whom? How are the plum projects managed? How is BAU managed? You know, where do we get that intelligence from? So it's basically analytics that helps us. So I'll make a mention of one thing here. So there is this, I'm forgetting, probably it's called Cybermatics. So that's a piece of analytics that was used in a baseball game. So there is a movie on this. So if you search with the word Cybermatics, probably you will get that. So be it in a sport or be it in corporate life, so if you have to find out who your top talent is, followed by, you know, the 5%, you know, towards the end, probably in the needs improvement category, another 30%, and the bottom. So how do we get to know? Because for each of these categories, for each of these buckets, then HR has to plan interventions, right? We have to ensure that every bucket is successful in the organization, or we have to take a decision around those buckets. So analytics helps us there. And now that in the new normal, anyways, we are grappling with the dynamic business scenario, not that things are always known beforehand. So we have to ensure that we have a handle on analytics on everything, right from how my business projections are. Based on that, how am I going to fulfill my hiring needs, any particular geography offering which has to be focused.
Okay, we were just kind of having a little bit of an issue with the network, but I can again see that your network is stable.
Sorry
All right,
about that. Yeah.
that's okay. I mean, this is again, I think one of the challenges that we are also facing are
Absolutely.
the bandwidth issues. Um, I have another question from Preeti Norona, and uh, in the coming years, do you think that work from home will be a normal thing? We've already heard a lot of news of different, especially IT companies, which have been announcing that they would. This would probably be a normal thing even after COVID-19. I don't know when this will be over, but then is it going to be like normal from now on, according to you?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the new normal. Like I said, organizations which had a struggle earlier to get accustomed to this. So of course, while there were BCPs in place, all kinds of disaster management and everything, but we never were prepared for a scenario where every location would be affected, right? It's a global pandemic that has suddenly hit us and all at the same time. So yes, it's going to be the new normal for two reasons. One is of course the health scare. The health scare will continue to be there for quite some time. Of course, introduction or rather discovery of vaccines, etc., will make things easier. It will alleviate some fears. It will help us to go out and taste the life that was before. But to a great extent, healthcare will few departments. It has been, and in few departments, it has actually been uh, uh, the productivity has gone, especially in departments. The fact that productivity has gone up to some extent, there is a lot of real estate freeing up that corporates can look at, right? So it makes perfect business sense because if employees are happy working from home, if productivity is on track, then of course real estate cost is a big saving for corporates. So I was reading one report by TCS recently. So they mentioned that about 1% of their global workforce is now working in offices. The number will probably increase. But in general, from the reports that I'm reading, looks like corporates will look at a 20 to 30% of population working from home in most cases. That's the world we are moving into, perhaps.
Okay, all right. I have another question from Kritika Mukherjee, and her question is related to talent acquisition. Again, COVID is a scenario now which has uh, given us some challenges in terms of talent acquisition as well. But how do you look at talent acquisition happening now? What has been your experience, and what do you think is going to happen in the near future?
Okay. So let me tell you, yes, the face-to-face interviews are gone, but other than that, at least for us in our organization, nothing has changed. So the way we used to do our leadership assessments online, or the different kinds of managerial effectiveness tests online through Metal and other sources, those are all on. The number of interviews or the levels of interviews, it's same as before. Okay, the onboarding process is same, the connect is same, everything else is same. It's just that we have shifted to a new platform, which is the virtual platform. So even earlier we had Skype interviews. Now, of course, there are so many mediums of connectivity. There is Zoom, there is Microsoft Teams, WebEx, so many of them. And because of those, we ensure that, okay, if one doesn't work, then the other one will. But the process efficiency is kind of maintained. So that's what is happening now. And I think over a period of time, a lot of organizations are going to adopt this model. Now, of course, there are certain things which are irreplaceable. The way we are able to gauge someone, and this gauging doesn't only mean a recruiter gauging a candidate, even a candidate also gets so much of a sense of what kind of organization he or she is getting into, right? So even that is not happening. So both ways, there is some suffering that is happening both ways. So if we can eliminate that part from a process point of view, it's all there, it's happening. Maybe we have to go the extra mile when it comes to staying connected with these people, because in the absence of these meetings in offices, in physical spaces, it does get a little, people tend to get a little unsure about things. But I think that will also go away over a period of time.
I think it's also a question of getting habituated to digital. So when COVID was not there versus now, what has happened is most people have now got into the habit of doing things digitally, doing meetings digitally. And I think a lot of realization also has happened that yes, there are a lot of jobs which may not require you to go to office and work. So I think that's something that has definitely come up. And people are generally resistant to change, but now we have been forced to make that change. And I think over time, and like you said, we have to be also ready for what comes next. And in fact, I also have a very interesting question from Shrija Bhattacharya. She's an HR student, and interesting because she's talking about skill sets that students, the HR students today can develop so that they can do well in the future. And the question is related to everything getting digital. I mean, if you look at the HR, MBA courses, and you're studying human resources, there was a point in time this whole digital part was not there in the syllabus. I don't know about now, right now, what's happening. I mean, in the last 5 years or so. But is it that the students are getting equipped, or should they do something beyond what they're getting in their institutions, in their courses, something that they can do on their own to equip themselves, not only for this new normal, but what's coming in the future, because digital is here to stay.
Absolutely, that's a very pertinent question, Shrija, and I'm happy you asked it, because with that question also comes an aspect of attitude, that you are ready to self-invest and you want to know more as to how you can upgrade yourself. You know, we also need upgradation as professionals regularly. So my first recommendation is very, very basic, and that is learn Excel. There is no substitute for Microsoft Excel. That tool can do wonders, be it in your compensation benefit discussions, the the multiple, the hundreds of spreadsheets that we look into to arrive at the increments, incentives, etc. The kind of data analysis that we do on Excel, that's the basic, but that's not a skill that everyone has. So learn that very well, develop a data orientation. And for that, I would recommend all B schools to have at least some basic course. So I remember I had introduced this in NL Dalmia when I took over as the HOD of HR. HR analytics, we started off as a half credit subject. That's a must for B schools, at least an orientation of what HR analytics is all about, you know. And especially things like predictive analytics, because that's something which is going to help all these talent analytics that I spoke of. Where does it help? In the predictive analytics, it's of great use. So the HR analytics piece has to be explored well. If your institute offers, fine. Otherwise also you can have access to the different courses that are there in Udemy, and these days there are so many online platforms, and these courses, not all of them will cost a lot. Yes, there are some certifications which will cost you, but in case you want to be at a level where at least you are able to get into a conversation with the person who's on the other side. If you're a student, then if it's a corporate recruiter, if you are a job seeker and that's a company professional on the other side, at least you're in a position to have an engaging conversation with that person and to give the first impression that you know the basics, and rest you can learn. Okay, so things like SPSS, right? So now there are times when you have to do so much of survey related work to get a pulse of the organization, right? So how do you do that? Not everything can be outsourced. Not every organization will have these segments of AI and CS, cognitive sciences, sitting inside the organization, right? And you won't be able to outsource all work. So you need to learn it yourself. Now, I know all these schools offer SPSS as a course, but over a period of time, I have learned that the importance of this is paramount. So some of these courses, the students should do on their own if they have no access to institute resources, just in case.
All right, that this was a very good conversation. I think there were so many different points that we could cover, and our questions have also been answered, and we are almost at the end of the time that we have today for the hour that we had. So Rima, thank you so much for accepting our invite, for being here. I do see a lot of thank yous in the chat boxes already. And not only people who asked you questions, but also people who've been attending. So it's been a very nice conversation and a lot of learning for all of us. Thank you so much, and I hope we can stay connected and do more such discussions in the future.
Thank you so much. Because this student community related question came up, if NHRDN ever does anything which is organized for the students, maybe on HR analytics front, maybe an initiation introduction, I would be happy to participate and address, and count me in for any of your initiatives in future. Thanks a lot for having me over on this platform.
Thank you so much, Rima, and thank you to all our participants here. And we'll see you again soon in the next HR Speak.
Yes, and the questions have been awesome, because the questions prompted me to, you know, bring up things from different parts of my exposure repository, and that was quite enriching for me as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rima. Thank you, and bye.